You know what's funny about life? We all want to do something big, something meaningful, something worth remembering, but most of us never even start. Why? Because we're terrified of sucking at it. We're terrified that people will point and laugh, that we'll embarrass ourselves, that we'll try and it won't work. So what do? We sit there, endlessly waiting for the perfect moment. Endlessly planning, endlessly thinking, endlessly scrolling motivational quotes on Instagram, hoping one of them will finally light a fire under our asses. But guess what? That perfect moment doesn't exist. The fire isn't coming, and even if it did, you'd still suck the first time you did it. That's just the deal. So here's the radical idea. Do it badly. Yeah, you heard me. Do it badly, but do it anyway. Because the truth is, you're going to be terrible before you're even remotely good. You're going to write shitty drafts before you ever write a masterpiece. You're going to give clumsy, awkward speeches before you ever deliver a killer talk. You're going to stumble through workouts before your body looks anywhere close to what you want. You're going to embarrass yourself on dates before you find someone who actually loves your quirks, and that's the tax you pay for getting better, the tax of sucking. The problem is that we live in a world obsessed with results. Everyone wants the highlight reel without the bloopers. We look at successful people and think, damn, they've got it all figured out. But what we don't see are the thousands of bad attempts, the humiliating failures, the countless times they probably sat in their room thinking, this is garbage, I should quit. The truth is, the only reason they got to where they are is because they were willing to suck longer than everyone else. They weren't smarter, they weren't luckier, they just embraced being bad at something until bad turned into decent, and decent eventually turned into great. The real trap is perfectionism. Perfectionism is fear in disguise. It's not about standards, it's about avoiding failure. It's about saying, if I can't do this flawlessly, I won't do it at all. Which is just another way of saying, I'd rather sit here doing nothing than risk looking stupid. But here's the brutal truth. Nothing kills your potential faster than waiting to be perfect. Perfectionism isn't noble, it's cowardice, because at the end of the day, you either make progress or you don't. And progress only happens when you're willing to be bad at first. Think about it. Every skill you have today started with you being terrible. Remember learning how to walk, you fell flat on your ass 100 times. Nobody looked at you, a wobbly toddler crashing into the coffee table, and said, well, clearly walking isn't for you. No, you kept falling until you could walk, and eventually until you could run, learning to talk. You babbled nonsense, drooled all over yourself, said ridiculous things. Nobody said, well, she can't pronounce words yet, better just give up on language. You sucked, but you did it anyway, and that's literally how you learned every single thing in your life. Somewhere along the way, though, you grew up and started caring about what other people think, and that's when you stopped trying new things. We hide behind excuses. We tell ourselves we don't have time, we don't have the right resources, we're not ready yet. But really, what we're saying is, I'm afraid to suck. And that fear is the reason so many people stay stuck. The brutal irony is that by avoiding the embarrassment of being bad, you guarantee permanent mediocrity. You'll never be good. It's like refusing to step into the ring because you might get hit. Meanwhile, life keeps hitting you anyway. The beauty of doing it badly is that you lower the stakes. You give yourself permission to be messy, to be awkward, to stumble, to experiment. And in that messiness, in that awkwardness, you actually learn. You find your rhythm, you figure out what works. You discover what doesn't, and suddenly you're not bad anymore. You're improving. The fastest way to suck less is to embrace sucking more. You want to start a business, your first product will probably flop. You want to write a book, your first draft will look like a dumpster fire. You want to learn guitar, you'll sound like a cat dying in a blender for the first 6 months. You want to get fit, you'll be the sweaty, out-of-breath person everyone secretly pities at the gym, and that's okay, because none of that matters. What matters is that you're doing it. Because if you're doing it badly today, you're at least doing something. And doing something means tomorrow you'll be slightly less bad. That's how growth works. And here's another secret. Most people are too busy worrying about their own lives to give a damn about you sucking. We all live in this narcissistic bubble thinking the world is judging us, when really the world doesn't care. Everyone is too preoccupied with their own insecurities to be analyzing your bad guitar chords or your stuttering speech. Nobody's watching, nobody cares, so stop performing for some imaginary audience and start living for real progress. Look, I get it. Doing it badly feels humiliating. Nobody likes to fail publicly. Nobody likes to admit they're a beginner. But there's freedom in it. Once you accept that you're going to suck, the pressure's gone. You stop obsessing over results and start focusing on practice. You stop fantasizing about being great and start showing up consistently. And that's when the magic happens, not in some dramatic aha moment, but in the quiet grind of showing up, being bad, and slowly getting better. At the end of the day, you have two choices: suck at something now or suck at life forever. Those are the options. You either embrace the awkward, clumsy beginnings, or you spend your life stuck in the safety of doing nothing. Safe, comfortable, and utterly forgettable. Progress demands humiliation. Growth demands discomfort. Excellence demands failure. There's no shortcut, no hack, no secret formula. The only way out is through, so do it badly, write the bad book, record the bad song, post the cringy video. Give the shaky speech, run the ugly mile, launch the shitty first draft of your business, because even if it's bad, at least it exists. At least you created something, at least you started, and starting badly is infinitely better than not starting at all. Because once you start, you've got momentum, and once you've got momentum, you've got everything you need. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for perfect. Do it badly. Do it awkwardly. Do it imperfectly. But for God's sake, just do it anyway, because the only thing worse than sucking at something is never daring to suck at all. And here's the thing nobody tells you: doing it badly is the most honest thing you can do. Because when you show up and fail, when you stumble and keep going, you're cutting through the bullshit. You're saying, yeah, I'm not perfect, but at least I'm here. And that kind of honesty, that's rare. Most people live behind walls of excuses, hiding behind their fear, pretending like they're planning, or waiting for the right time. But you, if you do it badly, you're at least living in reality. You're at least choosing to face yourself, and that's the kind of rawness that actually changes things. The funny thing is, once you start embracing badness, life gets lighter. You laugh more. You stop obsessing about outcomes because you know they'll probably suck at first anyway. And that's liberating. It takes the weight off your shoulders and puts you in the game. Suddenly, you're experimenting instead of performing. You're curious instead of anxious. You're exploring instead of judging. That shift alone is powerful enough to transform how you approach almost everything. Most of the so-called successful people you admire, they're not smarter, stronger, or luckier. They're just people who tolerated being bad longer than everyone else. They sucked at their craft, they stumbled through their ideas, they failed in public, but they had the courage to look stupid and keep going. That's the real differentiator, not brilliance, not talent, but persistence through the shitty phase. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Once you accept being bad, the fear of judgment loses its grip on you, because the worst thing that can happen is you're bad, and you've already accepted that. You've already made peace with it. You've stripped failure of its power. Now, instead of worrying about how you look, you're free to actually learn, free to actually grow, and ironically, that's what makes you better faster. It's almost comical how life works like this. You run from being bad, and you guarantee you'll stay bad forever. You embrace being bad, and suddenly you're improving. It's one of those cruel jokes of existence. The only way out of mediocrity is through mediocrity. But the people who get this, the ones who lean into it, they're the ones who end up with the skills, the opportunities, the life experience worth talking about. So don't just sit there dreaming about being great. Don't just scroll through other people's highlight reels wishing you were them. Don't wait until you're ready, because you'll never feel ready. Pick something, jump in, and do it badly, because doing it badly today means doing it better tomorrow. And that's the only path that ever leads anywhere worth going. And when you think about it, doing it badly is the only way you ever get to do it authentically. Because when you strip away the polish, when you're not worried about impressing anyone, you're left with raw effort. And raw effort is real. That's where you discover what actually matters to you. That's where you figure out if you're doing something because you care or if you're just doing it for the applause. Because if you're willing to be bad at something and still keep showing up, that's when you know it's real. That's when you know you've tapped into something deeper than just external validation. And maybe that's the part we're all missing. We've been trained to chase applause, likes, followers, external markers of success. But those things only show up after the messy, humiliating beginnings. They only show up after you've been bad long enough for people to finally notice you've improved. The beginning doesn't come with a crowd cheering you on. It comes with silence. It comes with awkwardness. It comes with people not understanding what the hell you're even trying to do. And that's exactly why you need to embrace doing it badly. Because without surviving that silence, without enduring that awkwardness, you'll never make it to the part where people start to care. Think about any creative work. The first draft of a novel is always garbage. The first sketch on a canvas is rough, uneven, full of mistakes. The first attempt at public speaking feels like your tongue weighs 50 pounds, but nobody reads the first draft. Nobody frames the first sketch. Nobody remembers your first speech. They only see the result after the countless bad versions that came before it. So why are you so scared of the bad when the bad is literally invisible in the long run? The only thing that matters is that you were willing to keep going, and that's why Do It Badly is not just advice, it's a philosophy. It's a way of moving through the world that refuses to let fear of failure dictate your choices. It's choosing progress over perfection, experience over fantasy, reality over illusion. It's waking up and saying, yeah, today I might suck at this, but tomorrow I'll suck a little less. And if you can stack enough of those days together, you wake up one morning and realize you're actually good at the very thing you once dreaded. You can sit around waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of yourself, or you can step into the mess, stumble forward, and own the fact that greatness is born out of 1,000 bad attempts. Doing it badly is not failure. It's the toll you pay to move forward, the proof that you were brave enough to try when most people hid behind their excuses. Because in the end, nobody remembers the person who never started. They only remember the one who had the guts to begin, screw it up, and keep going anyway. So stop waiting, stop hiding, and start doing badly if you must. Because badly done is always infinitely better than beautifully imagined but never lived.